Hey there, welcome to today's video.
Today, we will be taking a deep dive into one of Earth's strangest creatures, the fox. Foxes are some of the most captivating animals in nature. Their striking features, intelligent behavior, and resemblance to domestic dogs often make people wonder if they could ever be kept as pets or domesticated.
Despite this fascination, foxes remain wild animals, and for good reasons. While they might seem like they could fit seamlessly into human households, their biology, behavior, and history reveal that domestication simply isn't possible.
To truly understand why foxes cannot be domesticated, we need to explore their natural instincts, the science of domestication, and the challenges of keeping a wild animal in a human environment. One of the first things to address is the distinction between domestication and taming. Domestication is a complex, long-term process that alters an entire species over thousands of years. Animals like dogs, cats, cows, and horses have been selectively bred over countless generations to develop traits that make them compatible with human life. These traits include reduced fear responses, increased sociability, and even physical changes like smaller size or unique coat patterns.
Dogs, for instance, evolved from wolves through this process, developing the ability to understand human cues and live harmoniously in human households. Taming, on the other hand, is something that can happen to an individual animal within its lifetime. A tamed animal is one that has been trained or conditioned to tolerate human interaction. A fox raised in captivity might become tame, but this doesn't change its wild nature or the instincts it was born with.
Even a tamed fox can be unpredictable, destructive, and difficult to manage.
This is a critical distinction. Domestication is about changing a species over time, while taming only applies to a single individual.
Foxes, as a species, have not undergone the domestication process.
The behavior of foxes offers a clear explanation for why domestication has not been feasible.
In the wild, foxes are solitary animals, unlike dogs, which evolved from pack-dwelling wolves. This solitary nature means that foxes are not naturally inclined to follow a leader or form strong social bonds, whether with other foxes or humans.
Their independence is a survival mechanism, allowing them to hunt and live alone without relying on a group. This contrasts sharply with dogs, which are hardwired to work cooperatively and look to a leader traits that make them much easier to train and integrate into human life.
Foxes are also highly intelligent and curious animals. While this intelligence is part of what makes them fascinating, it also makes them challenging to manage in a domestic setting.
Foxes explore their environment through digging, climbing, and chewing.
In the wild, these behaviors are essential for finding food, creating dens, and evading predators.
However, in a home, these same behaviors can lead to significant destruction. Foxes are known to chew through furniture, cables, and even walls.
They can dig up carpets or gardens and are notorious escape artists, capable of finding their way out of even the most secure enclosures.
Unlike domesticated pets, foxes cannot be trained to curb these instincts.
Another major challenge is their territorial behavior.
Foxes use scent marking as a way to establish their territory and communicate with other foxes.
This involves urine, feces, and specialized scent glands, which create a smell that can be overwhelming in a domestic setting. This isn't just a habit, it's an ingrained instinct that is critical for their survival in the wild. No amount of training can eliminate this behavior, as it is deeply rooted in their biology.
Diet is another important factor. Foxes have a highly varied diet in the wild, consuming small mammals, birds, insects, fruits, and even carrion.
Their nutritional needs are complex and difficult to meet in captivity. Feeding a fox a proper diet requires careful planning and can be expensive.
Standard pet food does not provide the necessary nutrients, and without a proper diet, a fox can develop serious health issues. This dietary complexity is just one more reason why they are poorly suited to domestic life. Health and safety are also major concerns when it comes to keeping foxes in captivity. Foxes can carry diseases that are dangerous to humans and other animals, including rabies, distemper, and various parasites. While domesticated animals like dogs and cats can be vaccinated and treated for these risks, it is much harder to ensure the health of a fox.
Many veterinarians are not equipped or trained to handle foxes, making it difficult to find proper care. Additionally, foxes can become aggressive if they feel threatened, posing a risk to their owners and others.
The challenges of keeping a fox as a pet have not stopped humans from trying. The most famous example is the Russian fox domestication experiment, which began in the 1950s.
In this experiment, researchers selectively bred silver foxes for tameness, choosing individuals that showed less fear and aggression toward humans.
Over several generations, the foxes began to display some traits associated with domestication, such as wagging tails, floppy ears, and a greater tolerance for human interaction.
However, even these selectively bred foxes retained many wild traits. They were still highly destructive, territorial, and prone to behaviors that made them unsuitable as pets. This experiment demonstrated that while tameness can be bred into foxes, for domestication is a long and complex process that cannot be achieved in just a few decades. It also highlighted how deeply rooted a fox's wild instincts are, even in individuals bred specifically for human interaction. Communication is another key issue.
Foxes have their own unique ways of expressing themselves, using a combination of vocalizations, body language, and scent marking.
While dogs have evolved to communicate effectively with humans through barking, tail wagging, and other behaviors, foxes have not developed these abilities.
Understanding a fox's needs and emotions requires specialized knowledge, and even then, their behavior can be difficult to predict.
This lack of clear communication further complicates the idea of keeping a fox as a pet. Another significant challenge when it comes to foxes and communication is their lack of domesticated social cues. Dogs, over tens of thousands of years of serial evolution with humans, have developed an extraordinary ability to read human emotions and respond appropriately.
They can pick up on facial expressions, tone of voice, and body language.
Foxes, however, have not undergone this serial evolution.
Their body language and vocalizations are designed to interact with other foxes and are often misunderstood by humans.
For example, a fox's vocalizations can range from high-pitched screams to barks, yips, and whines, but their meanings are often specific to fox communication and can confuse humans. This gap in mutual understanding is one of the many barriers to successfully keeping a fox in a human environment.
The unpredictability of a fox's behavior further complicates its suitability as a companion animal. Unlike domesticated pets, whose behavior is more predictable due to their selective breeding for compatibility with humans, foxes retain a high level of wild unpredictability.
Even foxes raised from a young age in captivity can exhibit sudden changes in behavior, especially during their breeding season. Foxes are solitary for much of their lives, but when mating season arrives, their hormones can cause significant behavioral shifts. This often results in aggression, restlessness, and an increased drive to escape and find a mate. These instincts are impossible to train out, as they are a natural and vital part of a fox's life cycle.
Beyond behavior, the physical needs of foxes also present significant challenges.
Unlike dogs or cats, foxes require a large, secure outdoor space to roam and explore.
Confining a fox to a small area, such as an apartment or a suburban backyard, is detrimental to its mental and physical health.
Foxes are highly active and need to dig, climb, and run to satisfy their instincts.
Without sufficient stimulation and exercise, they can become stressed, anxious, and even self-destructive. Providing this level of care requires not only space, but also time, money, and expertise far beyond what most pet owners can manage.
Let's also consider the legal and ethical implications of owning a fox.
In many places, keeping a fox as a pet is outright illegal. Wildlife protection laws are designed to prevent people from taking animals out of their natural habitats, which disrupts ecosystems and often leads to poor outcomes for the animals themselves.
Even in regions where fox ownership is allowed, strict permits and regulations are usually in place to ensure that the animals are cared for properly and do not pose a threat to local wildlife or public safety.
From an ethical perspective, removing a fox from the wild or breeding foxes for captivity raises serious concerns.
Wild animals are best suited to their natural environments, where they can engage in their full range of behaviors, hunt for food, and interact with other members of their species.
Captivity, even in the best conditions, strips them of these opportunities and often leads to a reduced quality of life. While domesticated animals have been bred to thrive alongside humans, wild animals like foxes are not equipped for such a lifestyle.
Keeping a fox as a pet often prioritizes human desires over the well-being of the animal.
The environmental impact of removing foxes from the wild is another issue worth noting. Foxes play a critical role in ecosystems as both predators and scavengers. By controlling populations of rodents and other small animals, they help maintain balance in their habitats.
Disrupting these natural roles by removing foxes can have cascading effects on the environment, affecting everything from plant growth to the populations of other animal species.
It's also important to address the misconception that owning a fox helps protect them as a species. Some people believe that by raising foxes in captivity, they are helping conserve the animal.
In reality, this does not contribute to conservation efforts. The vast majority of pet foxes are not part of any regulated breeding program aimed at reintroducing animals into the wild or preserving genetic diversity.
Instead, they are bred for commercial purposes, often in conditions that prioritize profit over the welfare of the animals. True conservation efforts focus on protecting habitats, reducing human-wildlife conflict, and supporting sustainable ecosystems. Looking back at history, it's clear that domestication is a rare and complex process. Very few species have been successfully domesticated, and all of them share specific traits that make them suitable for this transformation.
These traits include a natural sociability, a diet that is easy to provide in captivity, a tolerance for living in close quarters, and a relatively low level of aggression.
Foxes, unfortunately, lack many of these traits. Their solitary nature, specialized diet, and strong territorial instincts make them fundamentally incompatible with the requirements of domestication.
While the idea of owning a fox might seem appealing to some, it's crucial to understand the reality.
Foxes are not like dogs or cats. They are wild animals with complex needs and behaviors that cannot be fully accommodated in a human home.
The fascination with foxes is understandable. They are beautiful, intelligent, and enigmatic creatures. But this admiration should not translate into attempts to turn them into pets. The best way to appreciate foxes is by observing them in their natural habitats or through responsible wildlife organizations that prioritize their well-being. Supporting conservation efforts, such as protecting the ecosystems foxes rely on, is a far more meaningful way to ensure their survival than trying to bring them into our homes. Education is also a key part of this process. By understanding the unique characteristics of foxes and why they cannot be domesticated, we can foster a greater respect for their role in the natural world. In conclusion, foxes are remarkable animals that deserve our respect and admiration, but from a distance.
Their wild instincts, behavior, and needs are deeply ingrained, making them unsuitable as domestic companions.
Efforts to domesticate or keep foxes as pets often result in frustration, harm to the animal, and disappointment for the owner.
Instead of trying to change these incredible creatures to fit into our lives, we should celebrate them for what they are: wild, free, and perfectly adapted to their natural environments. By doing so, we not only honor their uniqueness, but also contribute to their protection and the preservation of the ecosystems they call home.
Alright folks, that's it for today's video. Make sure to like and subscribe.